Today, I wake up to clear skies. After being hove to for 40 hours, things finally feel good. So I shake out the reefs in the main, roll out the head sail, and Dulce takes hold of the wind, heels over gently, and begins to move gracefully through the calm seas. With optimism high and my spirits up, I set a course for Guatemala. This will be the longest sail I've ever set out on, yet I don't feel anxious or worried. Instead, excitement flows through me. It is often after hardship when I become overwhelmed with gratitude. Just as the sun shines after a storm at sea, so too do we feel our best after willingly facing challenges. I think this is why I love sailing so much. It constantly tests me. What a beautiful morning. So these squalls have finally passed, the storm has pushed far enough northeast, everything's finally starting to clear up, and we're heading to Guatemala. I am so excited, and I think we're ready to go. This is awesome. What a beautiful morning. I'm gonna make myself some banana bread while underway here. Ooh. Forecast says I should have north winds today, but I actually have southeast right now. The sky's blue. Everything looks nice behind me. However, there's a little bit of a dark cloud in front of me. Pretty sure it's pushing this way, because if we come over to here, it's clearing up on this side. So as I sail straight, that'll continue to go away, and I should be able to just get under there without too much of a issue at all. Maybe a little bit of rain. I don't think I'll have to reef or anything. And if anything, the wind might die off completely and I'll just be bobbing around out here. But I'm so happy this storm has passed. The weather window looks perfect to get through the windward passage, and things are shaping up to be really good. So the wind is stabilized now. I'm moving southeast at just over 4, close to 5 knots. And what I have to do now is this pin here on my spinaker pole is seized. I've gotten it to free up a bunch of different times, but I don't use this thing quite enough. It binds up from salt getting inside it, I think. But what I do is just slowly work it back and forth, use some penetrating oil, get it moving. So I'm gonna work at that, and that way I can run this thing while I'm going downwind to Guatemala. All right, I'm getting somewhere now. It's only been maybe 5 minutes. I think we got her. Sweet. Woo! Just under 1,000 nautical miles to go, maybe around 1,000. If I can average over 5 knots during the whole trip, I should actually be able to make it there in just under 9 days, which is gonna be really good. So, I guess we'll find out. Good morning. Okay, it looks like the wind has backed out of the north, so I'm gonna try to set up my spinnaker pole and see if I can get myself pushing downwind with barely any wind at the moment. So, here goes. So we've pretty much just lost all wind. I don't think I'm going to be able to get the boat to go anywhere, even with the sails pulled out all the way. Could be challenging because I'm not very good at it yet. Got it. Almost lost my hat. Whew. That feels good. All right, let's see. So there's literally no wind right now. If there is, I'm moving at the same pace as it, so you can't feel any of it. So it's really hard to gauge if my setup is working or going to work, but I think it will. There'll be some fine tuning. This is like the first time I've flown this spinnaker pole, and this is really not, I don't think, the correct way to use it, but I think it'll be fine. So I've gone 7.5 nautical miles since 8 a.m. this morning. I'm clearly not going very fast at all. I want to be inside the windward passage, starting to turn west by at least midnight, and as long as the wind picks up within the next 3 hours, I should be able to make that happen. So I'm feeling pretty tired. The sun's starting to set, probably within the next half an hour. And I tried to lay down there. The boat had been holding course for like an hour without falling off course at all. And I was just dozing off, and all of a sudden the mainsail backwinded and we started turning upwind. So I wasn't able to sleep. And tonight is the night that I need to try to stay awake all night. So it's 7 p.m. right now. I hope the wind picks up tonight. Yeah, I'm gonna try to get some sleep. Oh, there's a cargo ship right in front of me, I think. Yep. All right, we're already getting into the shipping traffic. The Mount Kilimanjaro. That's this boat's name. The Mount Kilimanjaro. The thing looks like a moving mountain. Holy crap. That boat is 366 meters long. That is huge. And 50 meters wide, it says. A few years ago, my friends Bo and Brandy were sailing through this. They got approached by a boat, so they've kind of warned me to be cautious going through this area, and I was suggested that I should go through black, meaning don't have any of my navigation lights, which means I need to be more on my toes about watching in front of me and keeping my eye on my AIS and potential other boats out in the water that also don't have their lights on. The one good thing that's in my favor is the moon is full, so if there is anything around, I should be able to see it quite easily. The thing going against me is I was trying to sleep this afternoon, but it was so hot, so humid, and the boat was barely sailing, so I had to hand steer, so I've not been able to catch any sleep. I keep wanting to try to lay down to get like an hour of sleep here, and I don't know if I'm just feeling anxious or what, but as soon as I lay down, I don't feel tired. As soon as I sit up like this, I start to feel tired again. The boat is finally starting to hold its course and pick up speed. I've seen over 5 knots a couple times, so as the sun sets, hopefully the wind keeps building. I've got a long night ahead of me, but I'm feeling good about it. Good morning, guys. It was a rough night. Not in terms of the boat. The boat was actually fairly comfortable. We were just running downwind. I had to do a couple changes. I think when I went to sleep last night, we were running downwind with the pole on the right. Now the pole's on the left. Here are my tracks from last night. This spot right here is called a convergence zone. So it's where all the cargo ships end up meeting to try to turn around Cuba. On the right side, traffic's moving up. On the left side, traffic's moving down. So I stayed just on the outside of it. And I actually ended up starting to feel pretty comfortable with my track and the way all the traffic was moving. Everything was staying in this zone. And I ended up going down to sleep while the wind was kind of out of the east here, and then when I was sleeping it turned out of the northeast, so my tracks turned southeast, and then when I woke up I turned onto a broad reach, jibed everything, and then slowly switched myself to go downwind right there, and I've pretty much been downwind the whole time. And as I get down in further, the wind seems to be kind of turning as it should. There's Guantanamo Bay. So yeah, that was my tracks for last night. We somehow actually have made decent time, and it's been 22 hours since 8 a.m. yesterday, and I've done 79 nautical miles. At some point here, I'm gonna need to sleep a lot more than I have been. I'm pretty sure I only got another 4, 5, maybe 5 hours of sleep last night. The night before that, I got about 5 hours of sleep. And the night before that, I probably got about 5 hours of sleep. So at some point, I'm hoping that the boat and the way we're sailing gets stable enough that I can go down and feel comfortable getting at least a decent amount of continuous sleep. Are they still here? Dolphin! That was awesome. Oh. After the dolphins left, I noticed an issue with part of my mainsail. One of the plastic pieces had fallen off. These plastic pieces are for an old Dutchman sail flaking system I don't use. Okay, I'm gonna go up and try to fix this. All right, so after looking at it, I think I'm gonna have to drop the sail. It looks like I'm going to have to make a patch. So I take a few measurements, find a peanut butter jar lid, and cut out some circles from an old sail I have on board. This patch will cover the holes left behind from the missing plastic piece. I'm using a tool called a speedy stitch to hand sew the patch on. It's not perfect, but it'll do. All right, we're cruising on, close to 5 knots again. Really only because of the favorable current. And I'm happy to be out of the sun. A few hours pass, and the wind starts changing direction. The wind's shifting more out of the east, so we're starting to turn more northeast, I guess. So I've got to pull the main over. In light winds, it's easy to pull the main over by using the swing preventer, but in most conditions, I wouldn't do it this way. There we go. Just woke up from a nap. After I fixed the mainsail there, I sat down and passed right out. The wind's starting to pick up and we're moving along at just over 5 knots. Seeing almost 6 sometimes going down these little waves. The boat feels like super comfortable, everything's good. I'm heading directly west, which is pretty much the exact heading I'm gonna be on for the next week straight almost. So yeah, everything's going really good. Got the mainsail stitched up this afternoon. I guess now might be a good time to talk about why I don't have an engine. I don't think I've mentioned it yet. The reason I don't have an engine is back in October 2019, I bought this sailboat. I bought it from a guy in the Florida Keys. I was brand new to boating completely. Finally, everything's unloaded from the car and in the boat. When I went to go look at this boat, the engine was having issues, and when he went to try to start the engine, it just made a clicking sound. So my brain went, okay, it's got a seized starter. No, the whole engine was actually seized. I made a mistake. The guy had backfilled the engine with salt water. The pistons were like seized in place. And then the work started. On top of the engine being seized, the block under the mast was also rotted. So I was stuck at anchor trying to fix the engine. I cleaned up all of the corroded parts and ended up breaking a piston while trying to free it up. I ended up replacing nearly everything and got the engine moving freely. Then I reassembled it all. Now it's January 2020. My dad flew down for my birthday. All right, we're recording. Hi, Dad. And we were gonna fire my engine up together. It didn't start. So I never ended up getting it running. And then COVID hit. So I had to drive all the way home for COVID in March of 2020. And I was stuck in Canada for 9 months. When I finally got back to my boat, I just didn't want to look at the engine anymore. I got the mast fixed. I built this like contraption to raise the mast up off the deck, rebuild the whole block underneath it, and put the mast back down. I didn't even want to look at the engine, so I just decided I'm going sailing. So I took off for the Bahamas. Figured out that I can do this without the engine, and actually I quite enjoy it. There's just a whole other aspect to cruising without the engine. You're completely dependent on the weather, you can't be in a rush, and I just fell in love with just sailing without the engine. Fast forward a year or two, I ended up going to Guatemala. I did a bunch of work in Guatemala just to rattle a few things off. I fixed the rudder, I took the bowsprit off, I varnished the bowsprit, I destroyed the entire V-berth, put the rudder back on, painted the bottom. Then I had to rebuild the whole bulkhead in the V-berth. I changed the entire interior design of the forward V-berth. Then I built and fixed a couple other bulkheads. And then a few different miscellaneous jobs. But I also took the transmission out while I was there and sold the transmission. I blocked off the cutlass bearing and took the whole prop shaft off. Fast forward from Guatemala to make it back to Florida. Find out that with a new bottom paint and no prop, I gained like almost a knot or more of boat speed on average, which was awesome. And then when I got back to Florida, I ended up taking and pulling the whole entire engine out of the boat. No more engine. So now there's no engine at all inside the boat. Originally, I had totally planned to have an engine on the boat, so it was just out of coincidence, and I've kind of just grown to love it. My plan is to go way bigger now. The goal is to sail around the world without the engine, and I'm gonna make it happen. So, day 3 out here is coming to an end, and Dulce sails wing on wing, heading directly west. Guatemala is now roughly a week away, but that's not what's on my mind right now. If I could tell 20-year-old me that in 10 years' time I'd be out in the Caribbean Sea, solo sailing to Guatemala, I'd have likely laughed in my face. But here I am. So, if you're feeling stuck, just know that life is never set in stone. We're molded by our thoughts, and we can change how we see ourselves. Where you are now isn't a prediction for where you could be in the future. So make those small changes now. Stay focused on your dream, and just start. Well, there goes another day and another episode. So, see you guys tomorrow. In next week's episode, I struggle as Dulce runs downwind for days at a time. The slatting of the sails is really starting to drive me crazy. Encounter even more dolphins You still here? Hit a new sustained boat speed record. We are cruising along over 8 knots. And break something. Okay, I just messed up bad. I forgot to tighten up my traveler. Landfall is coming quick, so please consider subscribing so you don't miss what happens next. And as always, thanks for watching.
Truth and love.